Hi, and welcome. And thank you for joining me for a brief conversation regarding women making a bigger purpose, making a bigger difference, and creating bigger money. I'm Susan Schachterle, and I've been looking forward to having you join me. This is a topic that is so important, and I want to share some ideas and thoughts that may speak to you as they speak to me. Before we begin, for those of you who don't know me, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a best-selling author. I'm an international motivational speaker for women. I'm a women's success coach, and that's all fine. But more fundamentally, I'm a woman who knows what it's like to feel small and less than in my life and in my work. I spent the first half of my life feeling uncertain, insecure, lacking confidence, feeling as if nothing about me had any value, and essentially feeling unwelcome in my own skin. And during that time, I had 2 small children to support by myself, and as a byproduct of that very small and limited mindset, I found that it was very difficult to make enough money to support my family. This is why I'm doing this class and having this conversation with you. So many women all over the world learn early in life to live much smaller lives than they're meant to live. I know that because I work with women all over the world, and I hear the same thing from pretty much everyone. They feel less valuable than they want to feel. They make less money than they want to make. They make a smaller difference than they want to make. I've even heard from many women that they feel invisible, even in the Western world where we think we've made such progress. I know this one. I've lived this one, and it's a terrible way to feel and a terrible way to live. And this is a phenomenon among women that affects us all and that impacts quality of life across the entire planet. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the planet cannot heal. We cannot resolve the numerous issues plaguing the planet. Things like war, hunger, child abuse, violence, homelessness, poverty, and the list goes on. Issues that will never be resolved through political action or military force. We cannot resolve these issues if women are feeling small and not stepping up fully. Now, before I take that any further, I'd like to explain what I mean when I refer to women feeling small. Although you may not need an explanation, I've never yet met a woman who didn't know immediately what I meant when I talked about feeling small. Women who are feeling small typically feel less than in so many areas of their lives. They feel less skilled, less intelligent, less successful, less interesting, less worthy, less likely to make money, less likely to make a difference, less deserving of respect and acknowledgement. And women who have learned to feel small often believe that their opportunities are limited. They tend not to make enough money. They are often in and stay in unrewarding, unhealthy, and unsatisfying relationships. They don't trust their ideas, their opinions, their abilities. In short, they have learned not to believe in themselves. And women who feel limited and small often have learned to apologize for the very gifts that make them female and that make them natural leaders and healers. Gifts that are often regarded as the gifts of the feminine, things like intuition, emotion, compassion, nurturing, creativity, spiritual wisdom, sensuality, and the list goes on. I have so many times heard women say things like, "I'm sorry, I know I'm being silly talking about my intuition." Or, "I'm sorry for crying. I know I'm being too emotional. I need to be more logical." And with statements like that, they try to repress, dismiss, and deny the very elements that make them gifted leaders and healers. And let me say, we are all leaders in some respect, whether you're leading a company, a home-based business, a Sunday school class, a support group, a volunteer group, a community group, Whether you're leading a family or just leading your own life, we are all equipped for leadership. But women who are living in this small and limited way often settle for much less than they want and much less than they deserve, because they've learned to think of themselves as deserving nothing better. And they've learned to resign themselves to trying to make the best of things instead of deciding what they want and creating it. Now, let me say here that we're not here for some sort of girls are better than boys class. First of all, that isn't true. And secondly, we need to have moved far beyond that kind of perspective at this point. But we are here together because the planet is deeply out of balance in the direction of the masculine. And until we establish balance, we will continue to struggle with issues like those I mentioned earlier. Women hold the key to establishing that balance, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But women have, in so many cases, forgotten who they really are, and they therefore aren't doing what needs to be done to bring the world into balance. And balance is crucial. Anything out of balance cannot serve. It cannot bring excellence to any situation. If you don't believe that, try sawing a couple of inches off a leg of a chair and sitting in it. It's still a chair, but it's out of balance and it won't serve you well. We're also here because women can't make the difference they want to make in the world if they don't have enough money. Abundance is part of our birthright, but we have to know how to claim it in order to attract it. I've worked with so many good-hearted, wise, and well-intentioned women who are struggling to bring their life-changing messages to the world. Struggling because without enough money, getting the message out becomes much more difficult. Now, before I go on, I want to say that this conversation is for you if you feel as if you're not being heard, not respected, not considered capable and valuable. It's for you if you're not making enough money, or if you're making okay money, but you want to make a lot more. You want to live a better lifestyle. You want to make a bigger difference. This topic is for you if you often or even periodically doubt yourself, your ideas, your opinions, your value, and what you deserve. And this topic is meant for you if you know you have the feeling that you are capable of, you are meant for more, for something bigger, perhaps something more meaningful, but you don't know how to move toward that larger purpose. Now, let me explain that finding a larger purpose doesn't mean that what you're doing currently is wrong or unworthy of you or anything like that. It may simply mean that it's time to expand your vision of who you are and of how you can help change what needs to be changed in the world. And this class is for you if you know you are settling for things that don't fit with who you know deep inside you really are. Okay, I'd like to go back to something I said earlier, that the planet cannot heal, that we cannot resolve the issues plaguing us if women are feeling small and not stepping up. Let me explain. The male brain tends to be wired for information and action. Tell me what needs to be done, I'll go do it. Then tell me the next thing that needs to be done, and I'll go do that. This is absolutely essential. Wisdom without effective action means very little. But the female brain tends to be wired for connection and relationship. This is equally essential. This wiring for connection and relationship is vital for the healing of anything. Healing broken hearts, broken relationships, broken dreams, bringing together groups that have been in conflict, even bringing together nations, governments that have been in conflict. Without connection and relationship, healing isn't possible. However, if we have bought into the attitude that our gifts, our naturally occurring abilities, are the soft skills, and not as powerful or as valuable or as important as the harder skills of the masculine, then we tend to start feeling small because we've learned to believe that who we are naturally is not as important or as valuable. And so when we feel small, we withhold the gifts we carry naturally, those gifts of the feminine I mentioned earlier. And we hold back and begin to operate in only a partial way. Think about it. If we are not expressing an entire aspect of who we are, if we're holding back a whole part of who we are, that means we're only partially present. When we're only partially present, we can only create partial results, and we can only have a partial impact, make a partial difference. We can only find partial joy, if any at all, and we can only make partial money. In order to live our birthright, we must be fully present. This is crucial to understand because, as I've already said, women are natural healers. When we are living authentically, giving authentic expression to those gifts we carry, we bring healing of various kinds into every situation. Women carry more than 50% of all the elements necessary to bring healing and resolution to all those issues facing humans. We're the relationship builders. We're the connectors. We build bridges between people, between groups, between countries. We are wired more to collaborate than to compete. And we most often operate from the heart, where we can find forgiveness and compassion. And we tend to be willing to try to understand others, no matter how different from us they may be. We tend also to seek to be of service and to do things that benefit the greater good, and that is an essential focus for healing and well-being. Those elements, taken together, can facilitate reconciliation, new agreements, and new beginnings. Now let me be clear, this doesn't mean that men can't do such things also. Men carry their own very special gifts. This simply means that we as females carry these particular gifts naturally. They come naturally to us. So, as I said, we carry the elements that must be present and in operation for the planet to heal. There's a wonderful prophecy. It's a Hopi prophecy, and I talk about this in my book, The Bitch, the Crone, and the Harlot. And this prophecy says, "When the grandmothers speak, the earth will be healed." This prophecy tells me three very important things. First, it tells me that feminine energy is natural healing energy. Secondly, it tells me that it is as we bring together everything we've learned and experienced in the course of our lives and use it for the greater good that healing becomes so possible, especially as we move toward and into the second half of our lives, when we have learned so much, we've experienced so much, we have loved and lost, we have had terrible sorrow and wonderful, profound love. We have learned so much that we can bring that wisdom into the world in numerous ways. You'll notice that that prophecy does not say, "When the teenage girls speak, the earth will be healed." It says, "When the grandmothers speak, those who have been around long enough to gain wisdom and experience." And the third thing this prophecy tells me is that it's when women come together and unite and collaborate that healing becomes inevitable. Now, as I've said, if we've learned to feel small and to doubt our value and our abilities, we won't show up as fully present. We'll only bring part of who we are and what we carry into any situation. And you may have had that kind of experience. When you know something intuitively, when you know what needs to be said or done, but you don't honor what you know because those gifts are not given respect in that situation. You may hold back because you're afraid of being wrong, of being dismissed or made fun of. You may be afraid that your ideas and your feelings aren't valid and don't deserve respect. This has happened to all of us, and we are the only ones who can change situations like that. And what I mean is that other people will always take their cues from us as to how we are to be regarded and responded to. It is when we choose to honor the power we carry as females and to quit apologizing for it that other people will begin to accept and honor that power also. When we believe in ourselves, others will begin to believe in us in similar fashion. So we're not meant to live in a small way. When we're living small, we are out of alignment with the divine, the source, whatever you choose to call it. And when we're living out of alignment, that means that we can't create major change. And we can't make the kind of money we want and that we are intended to make. Your birthright includes joy, passion, peace, love, and money. Plenty of money. I can assure you, women who have learned to be firmly grounded in their gifts will draw healthier relationships, they'll have more peace and passion, and they will make more money. That groundedness brings us into alignment with the unlimited realm of the divine, and that allows us to attract and receive unlimited opportunities and unlimited resources. So there are several myths women tend to buy into about what they deserve, what's possible, and about their relationship with money. We don't have time right now to go into all of those myths, but I want to explore a few of the most insidious ones, and I want to look at how you can begin to counter them in your own life and your work. Myth number 1. Money isn't spiritual. I can't pursue and create lots of money and still be spiritual. This is an especially debilitating myth because it sets us up to feel that we have to choose, that life is an either-or proposition in relationship to money and spirituality. And that's simply not true. And beyond that, this myth will consistently keep us stuck and prevent us from moving out of lack and into abundance. The truth is that money is simply a form of energy. It is neither good nor bad. Its meaning is strictly in how we regard and use it. Money is also a major way the divine or God or the spirit or whatever you call it provides for us, since this is a planet and a dimension in which money is necessary. By choosing to believe that we can't be spiritual and wealthy, we are choosing to stay stuck in limitation. And there's nothing spiritual about limitation. And let me also say, not having enough money doesn't make us more spiritual or more selfless or more noble. Not having enough money just makes us broke. So to begin countering this myth, living in a state of consistent gratitude for every penny you receive is a powerful way to move forward. Every penny you find on the sidewalk, every dime you find in the bottom of your purse, everything that shows up, if you can stop for a moment and say thank you. I am beginning to be a money magnet. This is a great way to begin opening the door to more money and all it can allow you to do. Keeping a gratitude journal is also a great way to begin transforming this limiting myth. I suggest a very specific way to do this. Every day, and I suggest doing it in the morning if your schedule allows. You can do it later if the morning isn't possible. But every day, make a list of 3 things you are grateful for, you appreciate, or you find beauty in. Next to each item, write a sentence or 2 about why it's on your list, why you're grateful for it, why you appreciate it, why you find beauty in it. And then go on with your day. The key is that you can't repeat any items. Each day, they must be 3 new items. The first day or 2 are easy. But after that, you begin having to dig deeper to find those perhaps less obvious things that once you identify them under the surface, you realize you really are grateful for. These things can include things like a color you find beautiful, a flavor you appreciate. They can be the huge life-changing things, but they can also be the smaller things that when we pay attention to them make life so rich. If you will do this exercise on a regular basis, you will find very quickly that there is no room in you for this myth about money not being spiritual. You will begin to realize that gratitude, when it's authentic, when it's real, opens doors nothing else can touch. Okay, myth number 2. I need to be liked, and that requires that I stay small and not make waves. That way, people will accept me, and when people like and accept me, that will tell me what my value is and what I deserve. This is a very nasty and limiting myth, and one that women are often drawn into. This is so insidious because it feeds on a woman's external focus and her lack of true relationship with herself. Many of us, maybe most of us, learned early in life to gauge our value by the number of people who like and accept us and by how popular we are. So we learned how to fit in and how to become what others wanted us to be to greater or lesser degree, whether we fit in with the cool kids or whether we fit in with the misfits. It's all fitting in. And the very act of fitting in order to be accepted, keeps us small. It prevents us from getting clear about who we are and recognizing and expressing what is true for us as individuals, separate from any relationship we may have developed. This is a common way that women disrespect themselves. Now, since this myth puts us at the mercy of other people and allows them to determine our value, the antidote is to begin creating a loving relationship with ourselves. That can include exploring what we really think and feel about any topic, much the way we might begin to create a relationship or a friendship with someone new. We learn how to draw information out of other people so we can get to know them and create friendships. But we rarely learn how to do that with ourselves. Another great way to reduce the need for validation from other people is to create a list of the characteristics that make you who you are, and then identify those you find to be positive and valuable. Consulting that list from time to time, especially when you're feeling small, can go a very long way toward accepting yourself in a way that makes other people's opinions much less important. Myth number 3. I shouldn't want more money. It's selfish and greedy to want more money. I should be grateful for what I have and willing to make do, even if it means just getting by. This one contradicts any number of spiritual laws. In chapter 14 of a wonderful book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. This book was written back in the 1920s or so, right around the same time that Napoleon Hill was writing Think and Grow Rich. Fabulous book, so powerful that it is currently used as a guidebook for many spiritual teachers and financial gurus. Anyway, in chapter 14 of The Science of Getting Rich, he states, and I quote, "Increase is what all men and women are seeking. It is the urge of the formless intelligence within them seeking fuller expression. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People are always seeking more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure. Increase in something, seeking more life. Every living thing is under this necessity for continuous advancement. Where increase of life ceases, dissolution and death set in at once. Man instinctively knows this, and therefore he is forever seeking more. This law of perpetual increase is set forth by Jesus in the parable of the talents, that only those who gain more retain any. From him who has not shall be taken away even that which he has. Unquote. So this is a powerful concept, that the life impulse rolling through you is constantly seeking more. In my mind, this has to do with consistently seeking to move closer to the completeness that is God. It also expresses the fact that God is constantly seeking to express itself more fully through us. Very powerful concept. So if the desire for increase is inherent in all nature and is the fundamental impulse of the universe, how can it be wrong, shameful, selfish, or greedy to respond to that impulse? And when the statement is made in various spiritual texts that if we will ask for what we want, believing that it has already been given, then we will receive it, doesn't that imply clearly that God or the universe or spirit or whatever you call the source is ready and eager to respond positively to our desire for more? So of course, be grateful for what you have, always. But don't limit the divine that is seeking to give you more. Remember the statement from the Bible. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It doesn't say to give you some of the kingdom, part of the kingdom, a little bit of the kingdom. It says the kingdom, and that kingdom includes abundance and money. Myth number 4. As a woman, my purpose is to nurture and protect my family, and that's much more important than money. After all, money isn't everything, and it isn't even the most important thing. Well, of course it isn't the most important thing. However, money touches everything, and we simply can't do all we want to do for those we love when we don't have enough. When there isn't enough money, the anxiety that can result tends to take a portion, and often a large portion, of our attention and our energy. When that happens, we can only be partially present to whatever we're doing, which includes only being partially present to our children, to our families, to our work, to our friends, to everything that's important in our lives. A part of us is out there hovering, worried about how we're going to pay the mortgage, pay the rent, feed the kids, put gas in the car, pay the bills. And that anxiety means that only a portion of our awareness and our energy is available for whatever it is that we want to accomplish. Not having enough money can make us less effective and less successful than we are capable of being, and than we deserve to be. People who make a point of saying that money isn't important are typically people who have no money. It's a way to justify scarcity and lack and limitation. But those who have learned to create plenty of money and have learned to use money as an ally in their lives and in their work never discount the importance of having more than enough. They know that having plenty of money means that they can make a greater difference in the world, and they and their families can enjoy life on many levels. People often say to me, well, what about Mother Teresa? She was poor and she made a big difference in the world. Well, I have researched Mother Teresa in great detail, And one of the things I have learned is that Mother Teresa could and would walk into anyone's office, tell them exactly how much money she needed for the work she was doing, and ask them to write a check. And they would do it. Mother Teresa had access to as much money as she needed and used it wisely to make a huge difference in the lives of the people she served, a difference she could not have made if she had not had access to the money that she was able to use. Mother Teresa was not poor. Myth number 5. I don't deserve more money. I'm just not one of those people who gets to have that kind of wealth. This one just breaks my heart. They all break my heart, but this one really breaks my heart because every woman who believes that she doesn't deserve is consciously or unconsciously holding back the immensity of who she is and what she's intended to accomplish here. And the planet can't afford for any of us to hold back. Every one of you deserves more meaning, more joy, and more money. If, as stated in a line from the Course in Miracles, nothing unworthy of God is worthy of you, then how can you possibly not deserve all that God is? As a carrier of the nature of the divine, how can you possibly not be worthy of money or any of the other elements that are part of your birthright? In order to begin changing this one, make a choice, and it is a choice, and sometimes it's a choice that needs to be made over and over, but make a choice to see yourself through the eyes and the love and wisdom of the divine, to think about yourself as a creation of the divine, a creation that is worthy simply by existing and holding that divine nature. You may have to imagine how the source might see you and might think about you as one of its creations. If you struggle with this, think about your own children or your friends or other loved ones, how you see them, how you think about them. If you will take time at least twice daily to see yourself as a creation of the divine, a creation that is worthy simply by existing, by carrying the nature of the divine within you, you will find that very quickly your sense of deserving will begin to grow and to be enhanced. Every time a woman disrespects herself, denies her gifts, holds back, and pretends to be less than she is. And by the way, that's what we're doing when we live small. We are pretending to be less than we are. Every time a woman does this, she has abandoned herself. We can't afford for any of you to abandon yourselves, and therefore to abandon the rest of us. You bring something unique that the rest of us needs. If you aren't bringing it fully and completely to the world, the rest of us are missing out. Now, as we wrap up, I want to share 3 things that are essential for any woman who wants to bring the full force of who she is to everything she does. First, choose to create a profound relationship with yourself. It's time to fall head over heels in love with yourself, with no arrogance, with no sense of superiority, but rather with a humble gratitude for having been chosen to bring the power of the feminine to the world. Secondly, learn some tools you can use to stay present when faced with the negative and when faced with those who are intimidated by you and who try to keep you small. There are lots of tools out there that you can learn that will help you stay present, and if you don't have access to any, contact us. We can help. And third, begin to notice the situations you're in which the elements of the feminine need to be more present, and create a plan for bringing the impact of the feminine to those situations. This can be as simple as speaking up in a situation where you know that more intuitive understanding, more compassion would be helpful. lots of ways to bring your gifts to any situation. Consider the many ways in which you can express those gifts in deeper and life-changing fashion. Get in the habit of asking yourself, if I were standing firmly in the power of who I am as a woman, how would I choose to express that power in this situation? Now, I work with women all over the world, and I hear the same thing everywhere I go, that women are feeling restless, that they're feeling called to something bigger. That doesn't mean that in order to step into something bigger, we have to give up whatever we're doing now. You know that women are the world's multitaskers. We can have a job, own a business, run a home, take care of the kids, clean and cook, nurture the family, and live a larger purpose and make more money in the process. It's not a matter of giving up what you're currently doing in order to live a larger life. It's not even necessarily a matter of stepping outside the box your life may feel like. You may like the box, and that's fine. But it may be time to just begin to push the walls of that box out a bit. Expand the box, make it a little bigger, to accommodate the larger life you're meant for. And by the way, larger means different things to different people. You get to define what that larger life looks and sounds and feels like. And in return, you will feel a kind of soul-level satisfaction that may be deeper than anything you've felt to this point. Now, women talk to me a lot about wanting to find a larger purpose, feeling that they're drawn to something larger, but not knowing how to identify what it is. So a great way to start the process of identifying that larger purpose you may be feeling called to involves 4 questions. 4 questions, the answer to which can help you begin the process of finding that larger purpose. The purpose that can feed your soul and make a positive difference in your community, your family, the planet, and that can generate more money in the process. You may want to write these questions down. First question, what brings you joy? I'm not talking about passing happiness that comes and goes. I'm talking the issues that plague this planet. But believe me, every small, well-intentioned step leads us closer and closer to the resolution that we have to have. Let me give you an example. A couple of the issues that really tear me up are hunger and child abuse. When I think about people anywhere going hungry, especially in this country, the wealthiest country in the world, when I think about children suffering malnutrition anywhere on the planet, brings me to tears. I feel the same way about child abuse. What are some of the steps I can take toward helping with those issues? Well, perhaps I can contribute some money to a group that does work that addresses those issues. Perhaps I can join an organization involved in that work. Perhaps I can find a way to volunteer, even in a small way, to help address those issues. You can do the same. So as leaders and healers, we are all in this together. And when we collaborate in bringing transformation and healing to the world, everything changes. Nothing can stay the same. There's a powerful Ethiopian proverb that says, when spider webs join together, they can tie up a lion. Now, this is actually a phenomenon. I've read about this in, I think, National Geographic magazine. There's a certain species of spider in Africa that has learned to interweave its webs with other spiders of its species. And when they weave their webs together sufficiently, those webs form something so strong it becomes like a net that can actually stop an animal. That's remarkable. And it speaks so well to the fact that when we come together in unity and collaboration, we become a force that cannot be dismissed or denied. So spend some time with the exercises and questions I suggested. You are equipped to become an agent of sacred change for a planet that is longing for that change. When you step up and bring the full power you carry to the world, that sacred change begins. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll be providing you with information about our upcoming classes and live events, so stay tuned.